Well, hello everyone, and thank you for clicking to watch another video of mine. If you haven't yet, I hope you take the time now to subscribe. Hit that bell if you want to be notified right when I post these videos. If you see something you like, give a thumbs up and share it. That is what is going to help this channel grow. But with all that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. This is exactly what you came here for. Welcome everyone. Welcome to another fall series of mine. I am Shannon, your hybrid DIYer. This first DIY items we are going to use will be a fall scarf, an ankle sock, rice, clear ties, base filler, felt, yarn, wooden clips, and paint of your choice. DIY number 2. We will use multi-sized mini pumpkins, paint of your choice, and a 2-inch wood round. And for DIY number 3, we are going to use a fall hand towel and some polyfill fiber stuffing. So before we go any further, I wanted to show you the palette I picked out for this fall, autumn, Halloween time of year. I know you can't see it real good because of the flash on the camera. I forgot to shut it off. But you'll see them as I do more DIYs on this channel. So speaking of that, it is time to get into them. And here we are, DIY number 1. I have no idea what happened to the footage of me putting the rice inside of the sock, but what I did is took a woman's size 6 to 9 anklet white sock, and I filled it with white rice up to the heel part of the sock. And then I took one of the clear hair ties and tied that off just so the rice wouldn't come out. And I found this cute scarf that I'm putting glue on here at the Dollar Tree. So I measured it around the gnome and the height and just cut it to fit basically. And here we are. So I have this white fluffy mop head from Dollar Tree that I picked up, and I thought because it was so soft and fluffy, I know usually people use those for the beard of the gnome, but I decided to be different because that's me. I'm different. I decided to try to shove a piece of this down inside of the hat just to give it maybe a little bit of fluff. And I actually took one of those clear ties and tied it around the top of this mop head piece to hopefully have a little puffball that would stick out the top. And I figured that would be cute. But shoving it down inside there, it just doesn't give. It's not as soft when it's sitting on top of that rice, and all it does is seems to pack that rice down, and I just couldn't get it to do anything. So that wasn't the best idea, but I did keep this footage just to show you that our crafting plans that we do don't always work out. And when they don't, we just adjust and figure out something else. And see, I like the cute little puffy on the top sticking out there, but the fact that I just could not adjust this piece at all made it so it was just lumpy and clumpy, and yeah, I just didn't like it. So I took it out, I pushed the gnome aside, grabbed the old trusty scissors, and started cutting away. And I did speed this video up, and I do that a lot in my videos. If I'm doing something repetitive, I don't expect you to just sit and watch it constantly. And I apologize every time the camera shakes or bumps. I am actually sitting in my living room crafting because we are getting a pretty bad lightning storm right now, and the side of the house that my crafting room is on, that is where all the lightning is, so it was better to do it here in the living room. And I just have a small little stand here, or table, that I am using to craft, so please forgive my arm for going in front of the camera. I actually have the camera taped to the stand, if that makes sense, but I'll try my best to still make this video worth you watching, so please forgive me. But I took all those pieces and shoved it down inside of the hat, and I'm just closing up the gnome's hat there so none of it falls out, and taking one of those ties and tying off the top of it to ensure that none come out. I think I'm going to leave the top that way. Looks like a cute little beanie cap maybe. And I just love the way this hat looks, and the stuffing in there is wonderful. I can adjust it and move it around, and it doesn't look pokey and lumpy and clumpy. So now I am taking this little vase filler. I know Dollar Tree has them all year round. And I thought about scraping the glue, or the glitter, excuse me, off from there. And then decided just to leave what was left on there. And it would just add a little texture to it and just make our gnome stand out a little bit more than others with a different type of nose. He'll be original. I do love making gnomes. They're so adorable. You can set them anywhere, especially using this rice. I know some people use sand or rocks or old plastic bags or cotton balls or polyfill, but I tell you, this rice, you can form that any way you choose. If you want it more oval, more round, and they're really soft and squishy feeling, so I like that. Well, I finished painting the nose. Now while it is drying, I picked up these clips. They look like maple leaves maybe, and I thought they would be wonderful to put on the gnome as his feet or shoes, whichever you prefer. But I'm taking the peach color that I used for the nose and some of the dark brown acrylic paint from Dollar Tree and mixing them, and look at that color. That is the perfect terracotta color. What do you think? Should I have made it darker? I love this color, and it fits in quite well, I think, with the little hat. So you see the clips on the bottom of those. I actually thought about just clipping those to the bottom of the gnome, but that didn't seem right. Just made it look all out of shape and deformed, so I didn't go that route. So we're going to move those out of the way to dry. And now it is time to work on the beard. I got this yarn from Dollar Tree in a rust tweed color. This color is beautiful. It's brown with a bunch of like orange colored specks running all the way through it. I figured this would be wonderful to use as the gnome's beard. So I just measure to make sure I get the length right. We definitely don't want them too short. Being too long is not a big deal, but a gnome beard too short, well, then we run into problems. Then we'd have to layer them, and I don't want to layer them. So I got the measurement, and now I'm just gonna cut a bunch of single pieces like this. And this is one of those times when I do end up skipping all the way through the and fast forwarding again this cutting process, because again it's repetitive and you don't want to sit there and watch me cut pieces that are the exact same size doing the exact same thing. Now that would be boring. I did not come here to bore you. I came here to thrill you. Is that the word I'm supposed to use? I don't even know. Maybe educate. That's probably better. So I am educating you on the way I make my home decor. Yes, I like those words. Much, much better. So again, I apologize every time my arm goes in the way of the camera. It's just sitting right there in front of me. It's the only place to put it here in my living room with the stand. So I'm hoping we get through the video. So now we need a way to place the gnome's beard. And I can't very well just glue them to the sock. That just didn't seem right. So I grabbed a piece of brown felt and I am measuring the width in length that I want the beard to sit. And yes, as you'll see, I'm a professional. I use my scissors all different sorts of ways. Left hand, right hand. I come from the top, the side, the bottom. Doesn't matter. I just use them. But I will say with this felt, to make sure you do cut this pretty exact, because this is going to be the beard and you've already cut the yarn pieces. So you don't want them actually having to be leveled onto this piece like diagonally. Some will be long, some might be too short. It would just end up being a mess. So making sure this is a pretty even piece will help you with the yarn. Now, one thing I did decide to do with this yarn is to try to break it down a little. It seems like tearing them apart was better, maybe as hair instead of just real thick long pieces like that. And as you tear it apart, you'll see, I think the word I want to use is strands, but you can break one of these down into like 4 different strands. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, I'm glad you can see what I'm doing. Thank YouTube for videos. Yay! So there you see, I'm just untwisting it, and I'm going to put them together and lay them down to see what type of hair we'd make here after I cut off that little straggler piece that kind of wanted to pull off there. And it does happen, so you got to be pretty careful. They'll break down more into more than just 4, I'm sure. So I put them together and I lay them down and I get a look at it, and wow, I really do like that look for hair opposed to just the straight look. Here it looks like wavy hair, or maybe our gnome just got a perm. Who knows? So this is one of those times when I will skip through most of this part and just go to the next frame in this video, because this was very, very time consuming, and I could even speed this up and it would still be a long time doing this. So put on your if you're gonna redo this, put on your favorite movie and It takes time, but just take some hot glue and put your strands together and place them down. It really, really does work, and it's going to look wonderful when it is finished. And maybe use some finger protectors. I don't, and I burn myself every single time. I know my fingers are used to it, or that I think they are, but it still burns. So there you are. That is what our gnome's hair is going to look like. I will end up doing 2 layers of that, so it is time consuming. And there we go. We skipped ahead, and now our little nose is dry. So the hat's hanging down kind of low, but I'm still going to try to place this nose underneath there. I am hesitating, but I'm going to try it anyway, thinking the nose might roll up there. And it just did not want to. So I'll end up removing this later and replacing it. But for now, we need to get the hat secure and then get the gnome's beard around there, and we can worry about everything after that. I love this little hat. It is adorable. There's a little piece of dried glue there, but it's not a big deal. The beard's going to cover that. So you see when we place the beard on there, it doesn't sit proper because where the nose is, we have to cut that little spot out. And yes, I took the beard out of frame, or out of the camera view, because I needed it closer to me to get that exact cut. That way it fits properly, and that cut seemed to work out pretty good. Now remember, we only put glue on the top there that I just cut off, so the rest of that hair we made is loose, so you have to re-glue that back on there. And I cannot believe it. I was smart this time, and I decided to use scissors. And wow, that worked wonderful. And guess what? I still burned my finger right on the other side, and I took a piece of his hair with me. Well, no big deal. You can just glue them back down, and yes, use the scissors or anything else you have except for your fingers. Fingers do not help when you're trying to put hair on a gnome. Wow, look at that perfect fit. He looks adorable. See, I still don't like the way the hat is just hanging, so I will take care of that after we get this gnome's beard placed. So I just take a little hot glue first around where the nose is going to sit, and we want to get that placed there perfect. And then the rest will be easier to sit down. See, the nose still doesn't want to sit good, or the hat, I should say, on top of the nose. But I go ahead and figure out how I want this beard to go. If I want it under the hat, over the hat. I'm not thinking over the hat because I want to make some adjustments, so I don't want to glue that down yet. So I think I'll just glue this beard right up close to it, and then adjust the hat later around the beard. It's probably how I should have done it to begin with, but we play, live, and learn. I will be making several more of these, so I will get the perfect system or way of handling that's right for me. You can watch tons and tons of videos, but when you sit right down and do it, things change. And there, my arm's in the way again, and I really apologize for that. I try to move it as fast as I can. But there we are. there is our gnome's beard. And now it is definitely time to make some adjustments, and I have a little piece of hair that must have fell off there, or a piece of yarn that I'm using as hair, I should say. But it looks good, so I am not going to mess with putting the one piece back on there. That's for sure. And remember, we did cut this hair a little longer, so we'll have to deal with that. But I try to deal with this nose and hat. What I ended up doing is just tearing it off and redoing the hat and the nose, and it'll look a lot better. And voila, that looks a ton better. Just got to put a little color there on his nose because some of the color peeled off. But right now we're gonna even out his little permed beard. And I just go around and cut it even with the bottom of the sock and just round it out to go around that. And I think that is absolutely adorable. Remove all them little straggler pieces, and I know the camera view doesn't see the top of him, but I'll be showing all of these DIYs that I've done in this video. I'll have a short clip at the end to show you what they look like completed and sitting in their home places. So yes, these wooden clips that we painted, I tried to snap off the entire clip there, or clothespin, mini clothespin, and it just wouldn't budge, so I didn't want to risk breaking it. So I just left it on there, and he'll just have feet that'll let him rock back and forth. So he can sit forward or sit back, it really won't matter. It's always nice to have choices, even if you are a gnome. So I went ahead and done the exact same thing to the other foot or shoe or whatever we may call them. I just took some hot glue and stuck them to the bottom. And there we are. That gnome is gorgeous. And you'll see more of him. Well, I guess we're not done yet. I forgot I decided to actually put a mustache on him. I had some 4 pieces of extra yarn that I cut, so I actually decided just to cut those 4 in half and place them down as a mustache. And I think it was a great decision. It looks so cute. So putting the glue on there, I made sure I'm gluing it down kind of in an angle type way. And they do sit in there pretty good. Yes, some of that glue, of course, stuck to my finger, so it gave me a little bit of straggler pieces that I pulled with my finger, but I just took my pinky and made sure it was pushed real tight down in there, and I'll just adjust it. And that side that I'm holding there, it's his right side, but as we view it, it's the left, so it was a little uneven, so I decided to give it a little trim. And there we have it. So for DIY number 2, I found from last year, first I'm going to use this black and pewter gray, meaning I have them up to the camera. But I found 3 different size mini pumpkins that I had in my stash from last year from Dollar Tree. And I actually like the colors of the 2. The smallest one, of course, there's glitter, but we'll deal with that after I take some of this black acrylic paint on this 2-inch wood round. We are going to paint that because that is going to be the base that this mini pumpkin topiary sits on. And of course this topiary is going to be placed on that tiered tray that I made, the turntable. So this is going to be adorable. This is going to fit right in. I like to make a lot of little mini stuff for my tiered tray. Even though it is like 3 tiers, there's still not a ton of room between the tiers based on the bases I used, the dividers. So I still have to make things a little smaller or it doesn't sit on there real good. This is going to fit perfect. So after I painted that, I went ahead and grabbed that little glittery, I don't know why everything is so glittery, but I don't mess with trying to take the glitter off because all it does is get all over the place and get all over everything. So I instead just take some of the pewter gray and take a little sponge brush. Again, reaching in front of the camera, I apologize. But I just tap that around there, and yes, texture. It's okay to have some texture so long as that glitter is covered up. So that's what I am doing here. And I may in the future take the other 2 pumpkins and decide to paint them different colors. I have been known to change up things a lot, so that's probably not a bad thing. I like change. What is one of the secrets to life? It is probably adjusting to change, because nowadays change is inevitable and it just seems to happen on a daily basis. So wrapping your head around all that and going with the flow probably add a whole lot more stress, or less stress, I'm sorry. Not more stress. We don't want more stress. And I apologize if you hear my clocks dinging in the background there. They're chiming. That's because I am here in my living room. But anyway, going back to these pumpkins, it's nice. They are styrofoam, so I didn't even take off the little tops to them. They just layered themselves right on top of each other, except for this little one I just painted. I didn't like the stem they had for it, so I actually just took a piece from some greeneries that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just cut myself a little piece off it. And of course it doesn't want to sit down in there the way I want it to, so I had to put my fingers all over it, and thankfully it is styrofoam. It wiped right off, but it doesn't sit well by itself, if you can see, so that's why I got the base for it. This bottom's not real sturdy, so just take a good amount of hot glue and set it right down there in the center. And I think this turned out absolutely adorable. It is so cute, and I have to put my fingers all over it just to adjust it. So back with the sponge brush, tapping it up, and it's making the camera shake a little bit, and I apologize for that. But I will show you what this final looks like actually on the tiered tray. So cute. Now on to DIY number 3. This is the hand towel that I picked out, and I actually got this from Dollar General. They have some really cute ones this year. I think I grabbed one of each that they had, maybe 8 or 10 different ones. But I like taking these hand towels and just folding them in half. That way the pattern is the exact same on both sides. And you can sew these if you want, but I'm taking my hot glue because believe me, this hot glue really seals this cloth. So as you already know, we are making a pillow. I like to make pillows. I actually use them around the house, and using this polyfill that I got from Walmart a few years ago, I've gotten like 4 different projects out of it so far. So it really goes far. And I will be showing you that here after we get the 2 sides glued. See there with me flipping it over, it's the same pattern, which is wonderful. Don't have to worry about lining anything up. Dollar General, actually, their pattern is pretty center. So I think they know we do this. They must do this as well because it does line up almost perfect. And just take your hot glue and keep it right on the seams. Like I said, you can sew these if you want. I do have a couple that I sewed, but this is definitely a lot faster for video purposes, and later you may see this as I'm showing other things in my home as my videos progress. I will probably go and put a border around this, but like I said, for video purposes, we'll just leave it with just the hot glue and polyfill for now. I just love those little gnomes. They are adorable. They're going to fit right in, especially with the colors also. They're going to fit right into my fall decor this year. So I'm just going through and pushing down on those seams to make sure they're sealed. And here is that polyfill that I said, the polyfill fiber. I've had this for so long, and like I said, the only thing I can say about it is when you use it, take pieces out of there because it's so compressed and clumped up. Just pull it apart, break it up. Otherwise, it will be lumpy. And we already know from the earlier video, I don't like lumpy. So I'm sticking this first batch in there and making sure I push it to the corners. And as you add filling here, it will pull away from the corner. So before you close it completely, double check those corners. I've made pillows so many times that once I sealed them closed, I had to mess around and push them closed and push them to the corners and break them apart, and what a mess. And I tell you, with this hot glue, it's hard to pull these pillows apart. They would probably rip. That is really how sealed they are with this glue. And you see, it's looking not so clumpy and lumpy. So I did put quite a bit of filling in there. And I wasn't happy with the look. always adjusting. That's what I mean. It's easier to adjust them while it's still open. So I had to take some out and break it up even more to give it just a little softer look. Now it really looks like clouds in there, that's for sure. And these pillows feel like it too when you lay your head on it. It feels like you're just, oh, it's like laying on a cloud. Or what I think laying on a cloud would feel like. Of course, I have not laid on one. And here I'm just taking the final steps to finish closing up this pillow. Do some adjusting. Like I said, I did fill this quite full, so the stuffing does keep wanting to push out of there. So I'm only doing like a little bit at a time. And make sure you don't mess with these seams until that glue sets. And it does sometimes take a minute. But I did not burn my fingers. You might want to have finger protectors though. That glue might seep out a little bit. But other than that, it's okay. I never use finger protectors. One day I'm going to do a video and you will see finger protectors sitting there. Don't be shocked. So here I am just taking and going to the other corner and closing that off. That way my fingers have something to grab a hold of. I think it's easier to, once you get to this point, to take your left hand, put it on the left, your right on the right, and pull it like you're going to stretch something. And that will make these two seams come down and meet. See how I done that there? It's easier to show it than explain it sometimes. But me pulling it in the stretching motion, like I was saying, made sure these seams met up exactly. So now I'm just going through and picking off the little bits of pieces there that I got going on of the glue that did seep out. And I'm going to double check the seam. See, that's sealed quite well. And there is our little gnome pillow. So here is the final reveal. Look at that adorable looking gnome. I actually went and put some felt around the back to make it look like he had pants on. I didn't like it bare like it was. And check out that mini pumpkin topiary. It looks great on this tiered tray. And the final gnome pillow. So cute. And until my next video, folks, stay happy, safe, and healthy.